Good day, entrepreneurs. A week ago, we presented this as a webinar, and we had quite a lot of discussion on it. However, I was not happy with how the slides were structured, so we redid the slides. So I thought for those who missed it, maybe I can also present this presentation, which maybe you can use to figure out your mind as to how you can actually create a high performance culture in your business. So we're going to cover the mainly just understanding what is a high performance culture and why do we need it, and what are the steps to take. And we have about 8 steps, and we'll get to conclusions with additional resources and bonuses, including our contact details. And obviously this product is a GED product. So please have a look on the details for those additional resources. The ideas that we got from here, most of them are coming from the book called Good to Great by Jim Collins. I think he is one of the best authors to be able to articulate this matter. And with the research that he also did in that book, is very clear on how we should actually try to build our businesses from just a normal to be a high performance culture business. So I think this is going to help, especially for those entrepreneurs that want to have a high growth or are planning to build up a business that will have a high growth. Having a performance culture is important, but let's see what is covered here. So a high performance culture is basically a set of behaviors that define on how we're gonna work together in pursuing the vision, the mission, and the values. We do that through demonstration of our values. So it's also a collection of beliefs, behaviors, but yourself as a leader, you will then be demonstrating this to your team. It is not about being mean or nice. It is about having a specific expectation for your team, but also for yourself and how you expect them to actually respond. One of my mentors also is Deka, who said, culture eats strategy for breakfast. I really believe in this, that you could have a wonderful strategy, whether it's a growth strategy, or it's maybe you want to focus on being more on diversifying, or whatever strategy, or be more competitive. Whatever strategy you have, you can have a great strategy in place, but the efficacy of that strategy is really highly influenced by your team. So if they don't have the same mindset and they don't have the same values, then it will really create a different culture altogether. So, because at the end of the day, when it comes to down to all of it, people implement the plan, and that's all that makes the difference. So I think also, as we're building up our businesses, we just gotta need to understand that the business and the strategy is also coming from the self, which is you as a founder of the business. So, and then the layers that gets added in are just the layers which you have to define how you want to respond to that influence or lack of influence, and how that will also shape your vision and your mission. So when you look at strategy and culture, you basically, on strategy, you start saying, okay, where do we want to go and why? So that drives the vision and the mission. And then the strategy will talk about how do we get there? But before you can even decide how you get there, you gotta need to also know, where are we right now? Where are we now to know how are we also going to get there? What's the quickest way? What is possible? But when it comes to culture, it's very much focused on the internal, on who do we want to become and why, and who are we right now versus how do we get there. So strategy versus culture is very much something that you can't separate when you really look at it, because at the end of the day, strategy is just telling us as to how you intend to reach out a specific goal, but who do you need to become is what really matters. They generally say that we don't get what we want, but we get what we become. So that is why then a culture is very important. Who do you want to become, and how do we want to get there? So why do we need to have a high performance culture? I think one is just to succeed, is to create an atmosphere where it encourages and motivate and also creative, and encourages people to be creative. But we also want a high performance culture because we want to make sure that every aspect of the business is influenced by how we do things, because this will then provide consistency with our customers, but also consistency with our suppliers. But the last one, the high performance culture also creates commitment. It creates efficiency. It also improves retention of clients, retention of also employees, which will also help you to be seen as a stable organization in the market. So what are the steps then? How do we do this? We basically will do this by first developing a vision and a mission that is supported by core values. Just be mindful that the vision is actually outlining where you want to be, is your ideal view, whereas a mission is mainly just focusing on taking that vision and create the reason why that organization actually exists. Yes, it will include who are we providing this to, but the most important thing that we need to be clear about on the vision is the core purpose as to why do we exist. Then the core values are mainly just helping us to have a clear principle, our philosophy, our beliefs, our values, what we stand for. The values always generally will reflect how the founders see and articulate and also share their vision and mission and how they live their lives. So you can't therefore expect a business or an organization to have a different values, because the founder does set the tone. So within the culture that is built with those core values, it basically focuses on what do we stand for? And as a founder, what is it that makes you cry? What disturbs you? What are the things that makes you feel, I need to do something about this? No one is doing something about this. And because that is what really emotionally moves you. So you also have to think about the culture that you want to build should be also be something that you're passionate about. You must have a reason why you want to do that. How will that actually change anyone's lives or your industry? And that is how you should be thinking about the core values. But I think most of the time, we generally as entrepreneurs think this is just the consultant saying you must have core values. You have to be able to take your core values and ask yourself, how will I demonstrate this to my customers? How will I demonstrate this to my suppliers? to my investors. So that is very important because it allows you to be able then to put this in terms of customer service, but it also in terms of how you respond to issues, or even just in general, how you operate. Step number 2, you will then need to look at the core competency of the organization. And core competence is basically a set of skills, qualities, qualification, and experience you need to achieve the vision and the mission. And the core competency allows you to build a strategic strength to your organization. When you are looking at the core competency, you really need to focus on getting someone cheaper than you who will do the work and charge more than what you pay. That's the bottom line with competencies. It's about what? Getting someone cheaper than you to do the job and charge more than what you will pay. So you're charging more to the customer. But also keep in mind that the competency and capability and capacity will then give you capability. A clear good practice, the standard operating procedures, and the certification. So start from building up good practice, then move to operation of procedures, and then move to certification. So good practices, it's also about just making sure you're keeping up the expertise, you're clear about the training, you're clear about the professional affiliation, but you also make sure you measure the deliverables based on your strategy and your scorecard. So step number 3 now focuses on you as a founder. You have to build yourself from level 1 to level 5. I think Jim really emphasizes on this, that for you to build an organization that is highly performance driven and has a culture of such, it has to start with you by moving yourself from level 1 to level 5 and being a person of greatness who actually have a personality of humility, but also a professional will. Really someone who's dedicated in growing themselves every day. And that commitment to growth has to be on a daily basis. And the progress being consistently being about learning and unlearning, because as you grow, those are the processes you're going to need to go through. But also, I think I just want to express that we have to always be clear that your business will grow to the extent you grow. So if the business is not growing, you will also not grow. I think one of the areas that as founders, we have to make sure we keep this very close to our heart. I generally say spending in 1 hour a day to just work on yourself, whether it's emotional, mental, finance, physically, or spiritual, just the whole well-being. So making your personal development a priority in your business for yourself and also for your team. I think one of my favorite diagram on this whole book is this, when it comes to Good to Great book by Jim, that he says that we build from level 5 leadership, disciplined people, and also means the leader must be disciplined himself first, and then the team. And he says, as you're building this, you should be able to confront what is not working. And from there, building up a disciplined thoughts to then have a breakthrough. To some extent, or some of it, I'm fine with it, but some of it, so I've modified a bit in some areas. But yes, this was adapted from Good to Great by Jim Collins, on why some companies make the leap and others don't. So I think on the leadership, in terms of being a disciplined leader, a self-mastery has to be a priority. And also just making sure that for you to be a disciplined leader, you must have a structure, you must be able to learn to manage yourself efficiently. Then you will then bring in the people whom as a leader you will need to lead them, teach them, train them, and coach them. And please note, I didn't include manage them there, because he does mention that in this slide that the right people don't need to be tightly managed or fired up. They will be self-motivated by the inner drive to produce the best result and to be part of a greater vision or a greater output in terms of impact. So he then also suggests that when in doubt, don't hire, just keep looking. When you know you need to make change, act. I think most entrepreneurs, we generally don't act. We will let that thing to slide for some time. And we put also the other suggestion that was made by Jim Collins was put your best people on your biggest opportunity, not your biggest problem. I really love that. I mean, I think my biggest challenge in my business has been I have not been doing that. I mean, when I was reading this book and picking up these ideas, it really stood out for me that sometimes we put our best people on our biggest problem instead of putting our best people on the biggest opportunity so that they can bring us money. The step number 5 in building this is confront the brutal facts. I think this is really about analyzing and looking through on what the challenges are, but also have a faith that at some point it will end. I guess nothing is forever, but also be transparent and honest enough what is working and what is not working. So when we then really are looking at confronting the brutal fact, when Jim Collins, he set up about four ideas, and he says, a culture that encourages conversation, questions, future planning, that would be more successful than the one where the employees have to tiptoe around a compulsive and emotional leader. So he also says that a clear direction on how you measure success help to make sure that transparency and accountability. I really like that. I think as leaders, sometimes we think accountability comes from us, but accountability is all around. The focus also should be on making sure that the issues relating to product, service, and future are not an issue of our feelings and emotions. They are purely just because on what is it that the business want to achieve. I guess as leaders, the last point that you raise is that we must lead with questions, not answers. We must lead with what we can do better, what we can improve, and how we can improve. And sometimes as entrepreneurs, we think we know all the answers, and we end up not maybe letting our employees be the ones that lead in those discussions. And then step number 6, he then speak about choosing to be the best in the industry. And he says, we have to deeply look at what is it that we're passionate about, what can be done the best in the that can be improved basically. And it also then drives the economic drive, what will actually have a better economic drive. And I'm of the view that this is what then tells us and provides us with what really will work. So with this, I think mostly it's about really going to the market to own the market share. Get in to be number 1, not number 100, not number top 10, but just pushing yourself to be number 1. It's to getting in to change how your industry works and provide solutions that people want, but also willing to pay. That is where the economic come in. And also just making sure that you keep moving and changing what doesn't work and document what works. We also discuss a concept called ad hoc, which basically looks at the three assessments. One, understanding what people are truly passionate about, identify what organization does better than anyone, but also he includes determining when is it good to generating revenue. That is when he talks about the understanding of your economic engine. So with all these answers, they will then lead into this orange, which is a sweet spot. He calls that a sweet spot. Now, when it comes to the culture of discipline, it's really about looking at making sure that people that we engaged in have a disciplined thoughts to take disciplined action. So operating with a freedom within a framework of responsibility is really a cornerstone of creating a culture that would be great in any organization. So, and he then adds that the culture of discipline should also consider looking at how technology can improve efficiency and the selection of data on how we need that to be used, but also building up the automation and artificial intelligence. Discipline action basically is about a set of beliefs and values and philosophy of life that will determine the thoughts, which is our mindset on how we think. That will lead to feelings and emotions. And these feelings and emotions will lead to actions. And these discipline actions will then lead into results. You must take into account that all the first three items that we're talking about here are really our inner world, is the things that people do not see. But we strive by all means to have a disciplined actions. We must start with the values, the beliefs, the thoughts, and the feelings, and also then leading to action. And that action will then obviously have consistency, perseverance, and all the nice things that Jim is talking about. Now, in conclusion, in order to build a high performance organization, it is important that the leader must be aware of the following. We must encourage people to be ambitious and be hungry for success, because when people are growing, also the organization will grow. But also strive for excellence and innovation. And the third one is that we must learn to make sure that the environment we're providing, people feel that they can take risk. And also the last one, we must have an ability to communicate with our teams and our employees. So here are the additional resources for you. As I said, please just go through the book. It's one of the greatest books ever written. And as I said, most ideas I have were taken from that, but I've also added up Proof Hub, one of the organizations that really also analyzed and looked at this. And I've added also our website when we were talking about the importance of reviewing your vision and your mission and your values, then culture. We also have bonuses for you. I think for you to really build a high performance culture in your organization, you must believe in your vision. So have a look. We have a small ebook that's going to help you to build that up. Maybe you don't have one. Developing a powerful vision, the ebook might actually be helping you also. And then another one is destiny, purpose, and your future. Please have a look at those and download, and I would love you to guys to share with us on what are you picking up and what you are building up, and what are things that are working, which ideas out of these ideas from Jim have you applied, including what we have. Here is our contact details. Also drop us on Twitter, whatever information that you think you have, you can share with us, but also just to give us a feedback on whether this made sense for you and which areas you're struggling to implement. My name is Precious Mvulane, and this product and also the presentation is done for simplifiedstrategy.online. You can get to our website, jdcs.co.za, but also you can be able to check my website, preciousmvulane.com. Thank you so much.